4Sides TV with me, Isma. Israel launched a series of airstrikes on Gaza in the early hours of March 18, 2025, marking the heaviest assault since a ceasefire was established in January. The airstrikes were carried out after negotiations for a renewed truce and the release of hostages led by US envoy Steve Witkoff collapsed. At least 200 Palestinians, including many children, were killed in the attacks, and Israel claimed the strikes targeted Hamas military infrastructure and leadership. The strikes have reignited fears of a full return of the 17-month-long conflict that has already claimed over 48,000 Palestinian lives. The situation has raised significant concerns about the fate of the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas. Here's a special report from 4Sides TV. The overnight attack shattered a period of relative calm in Gaza, leading to widespread destruction and loss of life. Israel informed the Donald Trump administration before launching the airstrikes, and White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt emphasized that the President Trump had warned of severe consequences for Hamas and any group seeking to terrorize Israel or the US. The attack specifically targeted Hamas leadership, military commanders, and infrastructure. Israel's decision to resume military action followed Hamas's refusal to release more hostages, which had been a key condition for further ceasefire negotiations. The breakdown in mediation talks led by US envoy Steve Witkoff and the failure to reach an agreement on the release of hostages marked a key turning point. Despite previous exchanges of Israel hostages for Palestinian prisoners, Israel had pressed Hamas to release more hostages as a precondition for continuing the truce discussion. However, Hamas insisted on a broader framework that included a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, which Israel rejected. In response to the airstrikes, Hamas condemned Israel's actions, accusing the Israeli government of unilaterally ending the ceasefire agreement. A senior Hamas official claimed that Israel's decision to resume military aggression against Gaza jeopardized the safety of the hostages still held by the military group. Hamas also called for international support for Palestinian residents and urged the UN Security Council to intervene and issue a resolution demanding that Israel halt its military actions. Hamas emphasized that the resumption of airstrikes, which they referred to as unprovoked escalation, would only exacerbate the already volatile situation. They appealed to mediators from Egypt and Qatar and the US to hold Israel accountable for breaking the ceasefire agreement, which had seen the return of 33 Israeli hostages and 2,000 Palestinian prisoners in an earlier phase of negotiations. This latest escalation raises critical questions about the future of the ceasefire and the ongoing negotiations. With the deaths of at least 200 Palestinians, including many civilians, the violence has cast a shadow over efforts to achieve a lasting peace. The ongoing conflict risks drawing in additional regional players, further destabilizing the Middle East. Israel's military actions are likely to draw widespread international scrutiny, with many questioning the proportionality of its response and the humanitarian toll on the continued strikes on Gaza. The possibility of a complete breakdown of ceasefire negotiations poses a significant challenge to peace efforts in the region. Israel's insistence on a military response to Hamas's refusal to release hostages contrasts sharply with Hamas's demand for broader concessions, including the full withdrawal of Israeli forces. The situation is now at a critical juncture, with the potential for further escalation, and the fate of the remaining hostages and civilians in Gaza remains uncertain. The renewed violence in Gaza underscores the fragility of the ceasefire that has been in place since January, as well as the deep divides in the ongoing negotiations between Israel and Hamas. Israel's decision to launch airstrikes in response to Hamas's refusal to release hostages highlights the stakes involved, with both sides as an impasse over the terms of a long-term truce. The death toll from the airstrikes, particularly among civilians, raises urgent questions about the humanitarian impact of continued military actions. As tensions escalate, it is clear that any lasting peace will require significant diplomatic efforts to bridge the gap between the competing demands of Israel and Hamas. The international community, including the United States, Egypt, and Qatar, will need to play a crucial role in facilitating dialogue and preventing further bloodshed. The future of Gaza, the hostages, and regional stability hang in the balance as the situation continues to unfold. That's all for today. Thanks for watching 4Sides TV with me, Isma.